Hello and welcome to Indus News. Live from Islamabad, I'm Naila Shuja and these are the headlines. The United States says Iran has requested time until their presidential transition to return to the Vienna talks. The State Department says Washington is interested in a mutual return to the deal, but it warned that the offer will not be on the table indefinitely. The U.S. is set to begin evacuations of Afghan interpreters whose lives are at risk for assisting coalition forces. The White House says Operation Alias Refuge will start during the last week of July. In recent weeks, the Taliban have made rapid advances across the country. On the sidelines of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Forum in Dushanbe, the meeting between Chinese and Indian foreign ministers has ended without any breakthrough over the border tensions. Chinese State Councillor Wang Yi said Beijing is not responsible for the tussle in the Ladakh region. And Indian Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar said the unilateral change of status quo at the border is not acceptable. 4 people have died and more than 30 are missing following flooding in western Germany. Half a dozen houses have collapsed in the state of Rhineland-Palatinate. The Weather Service has forecasted heavy storms with continuous rains until Friday evening. Brazil's daily COVID-19 tallies have plateaued at a worrying point. The Latin American country registered more than 1,500 deaths and over 57,000 cases in the last 24 hours. Meanwhile, Argentina has become the 5th country in Latin America to surpass 100,000 deaths. Pakistan has logged its highest daily cases in more than a month, with over 2,500 new infections and 47 deaths. Globally, the coronavirus caseload has surpassed 188 million, while the death count is over 4 million. For more news and details, stay tuned. We'll be back after a short break. Welcome back. The United States says Iran has requested time until their presidential transition to return to the Vienna talks. The State Department says Washington is interested in a mutual return to the 2015 nuclear deal. A State Department spokesperson warned that the offer will not be on the table indefinitely. This comes amid reports that Iran is not prepared to resume talks until President-elect Ibrahim Raisi's administration inaugurates. Earlier, the State Department said Washington is allowing Tehran to use funds frozen in South Korea and Japan to settle debts. It said Secretary of State Antony Blinken signed an earlier waiver and has extended it for 90 days. The department also made it clear that the waiver does not allow for the transfer of any funds to Iran. South Korea and Japan hold billions of dollars in assets from Iran that have been stuck due to U.S. sanctions. The United States is set to begin evacuations of Afghan interpreters whose lives are at risk because of assisting coalition forces. The White House says Operation Alias Refuge will start during the last week of July. In recent weeks, the Taliban have made rapid advances across the country. They claim to have captured the strategic Aghradam district of Kandahar province. In a tweet, a spokesperson said the group seized a large number of weapons after driving out security forces. The district is the latest of over 200 claimed by the group. Amid heavy fighting, 347 refugees, along with their livestock, have crossed into Tajikistan over the past 2 days. Tajik authorities say the refugees, including some 64 boys and 113 girls, crossed from the Afghan border of Badakhshan. Meanwhile, a high-powered Afghan government delegation is set to resume talks with the Taliban in Doha. The delegation includes the heads of Afghan's Reconciliation Council, Abdullah Abdullah, and former President Hamid Karzai. China has also offered to organize and host talks between the Afghan government and the Taliban. On the sidelines of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Forum in Dushanbe, the meeting between Chinese and Indian foreign ministers has ended without any breakthrough over border tensions. Chinese State Councillor Wang Yi said Beijing is not responsible for the tussle in the Ladakh region. He pointed out that China-Indian ties are still hovering at a low point. Meanwhile, Indian Foreign Minister S. J. Shankar said a unilateral change of status quo at the border is not acceptable. He said the friction remains unresolved and prolonging the dispute is negatively impacting ties. At least 20 Indian soldiers, including a colonel, were killed last year trying to claim an area on the line of actual control. Thousands of soldiers have been in a standoff ever since as multiple rounds of talks continue to fail. Israel has demolished 11 Palestinian houses in the Bedouin community of Al-Qabun in the occupied West Bank. Palestinian media said soldiers also seized tractors, water tankers, and solar power units belonging to the community. Meanwhile, in the village near East Jerusalem, Israeli soldiers demolished a barn and handed demolition orders to 2 others, while illegal Israeli settlers shot a Palestinian shepherd near Madama village, south of Nablus city. Colonel settlers also cut 150 Palestinian-owned olive trees in Burin village. 4 people have died and more than 30 are missing following flooding in western Germany. Half a dozen houses have collapsed in the state of Rhineland-Palatinate. Local media quoted police as saying 25 more homes are at risk of collapse. 2 firemen drowned and the army was deployed to help stranded residents. A slow-moving low-pressure weather system has caused once-in-a-generation floods. Rail, road, and river transport was disrupted with shipping suspended on the Rhine River. The Weather Service has forecasted heavy storms with continuous rains until Friday evening. In the United Kingdom, the MI5 chief says spies from Russia, China, and Iran are trying to steal technology and attack infrastructure in the country. General Ken McCallum cautioned the nation to treat the threat of spying as vigilantly as terrorism. He also said some foreign agents are ready to enter the country to sow discord. McCallum said that the agency is aiming to double the number of resources amid rising threats. The remarks reflect Britain's shift of focus to counter espionage nearly 2 decades after the 9/11 attacks. Moscow has warned London not to sail its warships near Russian-annexed Crimea again. The warning follows an incident last month when a British warship exercised in Ukrainian territorial waters near Crimea. In an interview, Deputy Secretary of Russia's Security Council, Mikhail Popov, said any such action will face a harsh response. He added that Britain's behavior and its subsequent reaction to the incident were bewildering. Russia annexed Crimea from Ukraine in 2014 and says the waters around it belongs to Moscow. However, most countries continue to recognize the peninsula as Ukrainian. Brazil's daily COVID-19 tallies have plateaued at a worrying point. The Latin American country registered more than 1,500 deaths and over 57,000 cases in the last 24 hours. Globally, the coronavirus caseload has surpassed 188 million, while the death count is over 4 million. More in this report. As the Delta virus sweeps the world, even the countries with the most successful vaccine drives are witnessing a surge in new cases. The infections curve in the United States is rising again due to the fast-spreading variant, lagging vaccinations and July 4th gatherings. In Latin America, the devastation continues, with a strain being discovered in Mexico as well. Meanwhile, Argentina has become the 5th country in the region to surpass 100,000 deaths.
It's not just the pandemic drowning us in this country. There is also this huge economic crisis. Many relatives call us crying, not only because of the death, but because they don't have the money to be able to give a burial as a person deserves. We place ourselves in their shoes and we have to act as psychologists to these people.
Over in France, clashes between protesters and police have resurfaced over fresh restrictions. This comes just a day after Amnesty International accused Greece of using the pandemic as an excuse for banning protests. Meanwhile, thousands again took to the streets in Athens to protest the mandatory vaccination rule for workers. Spain has also announced new restrictions to control the latest surges propelled by the Delta variant.
I begin by analyzing the epidemiological situation. The ascending tendency that we warned over last week is still going on. Infections rising from 225 cases per 100,000 people in the last 14 days to 469 cases recorded today.
The World Health Organization has warned that the Delta variant and low vaccine availability make surging cases in the Middle East potentially catastrophic. Meanwhile, in Tunisia and Myanmar, oxygen shortages amid severe outbreaks and overstretched healthcare systems have created a serious crisis. Pakistan has reported more than 2,500 COVID-19 cases overnight, the highest tally in over a month. This has pushed the caseload over 981,000. The Health Ministry has recorded 47 new deaths in the last 24 hours. The death toll has crossed 22,600. Officials said more than 2,300 infected people are in critical condition, while more than 916,000 have recovered from the disease so far. The ministry's data shows that more than 21 million vaccine doses have been administered so far, and over 4.2 million people have been fully vaccinated. China has confirmed one case of human infection with the H5N6 strain of bird flu in Sichuan province. State media said the 55-year-old male in Bazhong City has been hospitalized after showing fever symptoms. It said local authorities called poultry in the vicinity, activated an emergency response and sterilized the area. Experts believe that infection is an occasional case and the risk of an invisible epidemic is extremely low. Pakistan's former president Mamnoon Hussain has passed away at the age of 80 after a prolonged illness. He was suffering from cancer and had been hospitalized for the last 2 weeks in Karachi. The former president was born in 1940 in Agra and migrated with his parents to Pakistan in 1947. He started his political career in the 1960s. Hussain served as the 12th president of Pakistan between 2013 and 2018. President Arif Alvi, Army Chief General Qamar Javed Bajwa, and other leaders have expressed condolences on his demise. In Britain, the inventor of a jet suit that lets its wearer fly like Iron Man has unveiled his newest electric-powered suit. More in this report.
Richard Browning, founder of Gravity Industries, says switching from jet fuel to an electric-powered suit will push the limits of what is possible. He says the suit has enough power to run a number of houses.
Suit has enough power to run a small street of houses. It is phenomenal how much energy you need in a small form factor to get a human off the ground, and it really just brings home how much energy you have in gasoline or diesel or those fuels. So we're getting there. It'll only ever get better.
It has previously been tested by the paramedics in England's remote regions to get them to people in distress faster. The company has also demonstrated its suits to the Royal Marines to test how they can assist in maritime boarding operations.
Yeah, so military and search and rescue, they are new applications, but no, they're very real. We've done enough exercises with both of those groups now in a variety of countries to prove that there's actually a really powerful role for the equipment. So yeah, watch this space.
Gravity Industries was launched in March 2017, with founder Browning demonstrating his jet suit all over the world. The suit can hit speeds over 128 kilometers per hour and is capable of reaching an altitude of 12,000 feet.
It's now time for a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Shares in the Asia Pacific are trading mixed. Investors are reacting to fresh Chinese economic data and the return of COVID-19 restrictions in various countries. Hong Kong's Hang Seng has ascended over 1%, while shares in mainland China have also climbed nearly 1%. Seoul's Kospi has also gained 0.5%. However, Japan's Nikkei 225 has dived over 1%. Australia's ASX 200 has also slipped marginally. It's It's now time to take a look at the weather updates from around the world. For the latest news updates, you can follow us on our social media at indus.news.